Terry Murphy for the Women's Wisdom Network, Senior Editor for Realty Times, Women in Business, Women in Real Estate, and in the men's room with Murph. And we are going to have so much fun in the men's room today because Tim Gard is a tears in your eyes, laugh out loud speaker. Amazing man, amazing background. He teaches people to be more resourceful and resilient in business. He coaches, he speaks, he entertains, he edutains. Oh my gosh, I can't believe we finally have you. Tim.
Oh,
welcome.
Terry, I'm so glad to be here. You have worked so hard at making this happen, and I really appreciate the effort. I do.
Well, here's the thing. It is incumbent upon me to share the joys that I have in life with people whom I may never meet, and you are at the top of that list.
Oh, thank you.
You know, no matter what happens in life, your byline is laughter becomes you. Now, laughter and comedy and jokes are totally different fields. You've got an interesting background. Navy veteran, thank you for your service from my heart, my deepest heart. Pioneer in human-based training, fraud investigator.
Yep.
I mean, you've done a gamut of things. And here you are, CSP, CPAE, amazing in the speakers industry of National Speakers Association, and a friend of mine. We've shared the platform at Pepperdine for Youth Citizens Organization. I have witnessed transformation of audiences. The toughest one I think I have ever had is the Pepperdine group at 17 years old.
It's a tough group.
Tell us, how do you see the energy you bring to the earth? How do you see that? I mean, how does that come through? I mean, it comes through obviously in humor, but how does it transform?
Well, I think the biggest thing for me has been that, you know, my whole life I grew up in an Air Force family. My dad was career Air Force, and we moved from little radar base to little radar base, setting up these radar towers in like Wyoming, Montana, Alaska. I've attended little one-room schools where they have 6 grades in one room. And every 2 years we moved from one place to another. And so I had to make friends very, very fast. And my older brother played music, and that connected him. My younger brother was in theater, and I was president of everything, you know, I mean, and when I discovered that I could make people laugh, that's a really fast, fun way to connect with people. And I started building it that far back, and have now taken that and put it into the speaking business, which, as I've told you before, no one more than me is surprised that we can make a living doing something we love. I mean, I wouldn't have been more surprised if I'd woken up and found my lips were stapled to the floor. It's amazing that when you find something to do that that you enjoy and you can excel at and that you have fun with, I think it's a true blessing. But the biggest thing for me, Terry, is clean humor, positive, clean humor. We don't want to put people down. It's only used to enhance and never to diminish people. And I think that's where the best energy is spent.
Well, I will tell you, you do it with the most amazing expertise. When you're, and I've only witnessed you at NSA, which the rubber chicken stories, the freebies. I mean, there's so many things that you do that make people, I think, connect with their inner child. Can I say that? Because I've been my whole life.
I think that, there's a scientific basis. I use a lot of visual props that you're describing. In our audiences, there are people that are visual learners or people auditory. And so I include elements of both to help people get the message. But I think with the visual items, especially, it does connect us with that inner child where we're able to laugh at something we normally wouldn't laugh about. I mean, these are, with a lot of people working at home. I know a lot of you folks, when we were on restricted contact with people, you're working out of your house all the time. Some of them still are. The families would come and bother them, not knowing, I'm at work, please leave me alone. And I came up with these. These are called "Don't Bug Me" glasses. You can put these on and your family will leave you alone. If you're at the office, I guarantee they'll leave you alone. But just by looking at this, it makes you laugh, and it triggers this thing in the brain, mirror neurons. That a good example, like you smell your mother's cooking bake, or you smell cookies baking, and it takes you back to your mother's kitchen, or a song can take you back to high school. You look at these, they make you smile and laugh. And if you put them on your desk or put them someplace close by, you look at them, smile and laugh, and it kind of breaks that any sort of stress that you were having. It gives it a way to stop right there and move on to something more positive.
Well, in neurolinguistics, we do call that a reframe, because if someone looked at you, and I know you made those, you also have some with forks.
Yeah. That's these here. That's when somebody, if you ever, when I was a fraud investigator, we arrest people, but nobody really went to jail very long. And so I had these made. You put these on, two forks welded together, you turn your head sideways, you can see what somebody looks like behind bars just one time. And again, my law enforcement friends, we market these, sell them. It helps break that anger string. In the reframe, you're entirely correct. It's exactly that.
Well, tell us if someone wanted you to speak to their group, what's the main message besides don't take yourself too seriously?
Well, most of it is that we can't change the things that happen to us or around us. We have to change our perception of them. And when you change your perception, you actually create a very different reality. If you're in a hurry to meet with folk, you're on your way to a sale and they're doing the closing and you're going there and you got 20 blocks to go, it's guaranteed you're going to get behind every red light along the way. And that either makes you angry or you learn to take these little things and let them go. So when something like that happens, I say, people put their hand right here, say, bummer, do this and let it go. Little stressors, bummer, let it go, just like that. As the great philosopher Britney Spears said, it's not rocket surgery. It's not complicated, but don't stack them one on top of another, because you get to the closing and it's like a stoplight, not a good thing. Let the stress go.
Yeah, what's the other side to bummer? Because that's a whole premise that you.
And you're right. If you have bummer, then you have to celebrate every little win, and I mean every win, no matter how small it is. By doing this, you go, woohoo! Try that, Terry. Right? Woohoo!
Yeah,
you can do it. You can do it.
I've watched whole audiences do that, and for those of us that are more on the serious side, you feel totally ridiculous in your mind. Yeah, but you also unbundle people like engineers and whatever, the more analytical types, by things like, making music. I know that you like to make music.
Yep, this is a nose flute. You play it by blowing through your nose. You can't feel angry, self-important to play the nose flute, but
do you see why we had to have Tim Gard on Realty Times?
Locked him up in a house for a year with COVID, and you get.
You're so good at it. You are just too fun. So when I first met you, you were at NSA on the main stage, thanks to Lou Heckler. And you went through this whole thing about sitting in the middle seat. You talked about not having your bag moved. You talked about TSA. There's some really, really fun stories, but they all demonstrate a common point.
Yeah, I use travel as a metaphor. When we're traveling, especially today, you are not in control. Someone else is in control, and it could be the ultimate stressor or the best memorable experience. And so I try to take those things that normally would make people angry, and if you look at them just a little bit differently, you can see the humor and learn to appreciate it. I live in Portland, Oregon now, and I'm standing in line ready to board the flight, and the United person is saying boarding gate. Now we're doing boarding number 1 and boarding area number 2. There's like 5 of them, and this guy ahead of me goes, "Why did they make it so complicated?" And I thought, there's 5 areas. This is not complicated. And I said to him, well, you should have seen it when we used Fibonacci sequence numbers, and you did like row 1 and row 3, and then you did row 4. And I said, the guy behind me goes, and what about quadratic equation boarding? You had to show your work before you could board. And we both go on the plane, and he and I are sitting there. He came up my chair, and we just laughed our ass. We just laughed and laughed and laughed about it. But it's taking the real life things and finding a way to make them funny, especially how we remember them.
Well, can we just share one story? It was the TSA examination of your bag with the rubber chicken. And if you wouldn't mind telling that.
Not at all. This is, so I'm probably one of the few people that travels with chicken feet sticking out of their bag. And it's not because I mean, it's funny, and it is funny, but the main reason I did it was, you go to get on the airplane, you put your bag in the overhead wheels first. If it doesn't fit, you have to put it sideways in the overhead. People would come behind me, move my bag back around so they could fit their bag in there, and then my bag wouldn't fit, and I'd have to check it. Since I put the chicken feet in there, it doesn't happen anymore. I've watched people grab the handle, get right about here, and then just put it back. Nature's way of saying leave it alone. But Terry, the best part is at TSA, when they have to search it, and I love it when they go, may I look in your bag? I mean, what are your options? You say, oh, don't look in there. Scary things. But this young man in Denver, may I look in your bag? Please look in my bag. He opens up the bag. He takes the rubber chicken out. He's not even surprised it's a whole rubber chicken. You think you'd be a little bit surprised. And he starts and expects it, and he begins to frisk it very thoroughly. By the time he got here, I have tears running down my face. But what got me was when he did the flip, like he's done it 100 times before. And he just keeps going. And he goes right down to the toenails and he goes, it's clear. I mean, I don't even know the proper response to that. But this almost makes the whole trip worthwhile when they take it out. There's something about if TSA has to take like a doll or something out of a bag, they actually have to frisk it. And I think the same rule applies to the rubber chickens.
Yeah, but the point is where you find people immediately irritated because it is invasive, obviously. I mean,
what you're going through the touching all your stuff. And it's just so amazing that I went through TSA, and I'm not going to get on TSA very much, but I went through and I have a toe that I had to have my big toe fused, and there's a big screw in it. And when I went through, it beeped. And I said to the guy, I said, I have a metal screw in my toe. And he goes, can you take it off? my toe? I just, I was so struck. And he said, yeah, we'd like you to take it off. And I said, I'm not going to take my toe off. It's not like it screws on or screws off, but it's those things that either make people mad or you stop and think, I'll remember that the rest of my life. That's a memorable moment.
So when you're speaking, talk to us about one of the favorite, I don't want to say titles, but the themes of what you're speaking about to different groups so that they know the best way to engage you.
So I'm asked a lot to do a program called Leadership, the Tao of Humor, the Tao or the Way of Humor, where I talk about if we're going to use humor, we have to use it responsibly, and we don't want to use it to diminish anyone. And I go through and give them some rules that help people decide what's appropriate, what's inappropriate. It's called good, bad humor, whether it's good humor or bad humor. And I have one called Change the Game, which has a lot to do with how we are in COVID-19 and afterwards about the fact that we need to look at these situations and realize that this change is going to be a constant. It's even more so than ever before, and look ahead more instead of just waiting to see what happens. I do think that one stresses also the importance about being very present when we're talking with people, that we're what I call in the now. Or that's actually Lou Heckler uses that. It's in the now. It's being very present when you're talking with, if you've got someone you're representing, and then all of a sudden you start talking on your phone, you've just diminished them. It's like this person is more important than they are. Is that these cell phones have caused so much damage. I think I hate them, but they do have their uses. But we just got to learn to be more polite.
I think that our viewers need to share Lou Heckler because we both talked about him.
Yeah. Lou Heckler, yes. Lou Heckler was a past radio personality. He's considered Heckler. Lou is one of the best speakers on the planet. He's who I go to when I need coaching in my stories. He's got a black belt in coaching and a way of taking the exact right word at just the exact right time to make it work. No, I think he's worth looking at, Lou Heckler.
Oh, he's one, and I just wanted to clarify that in case they were wondering who he is. Well, Tim, you are a wealth, and not just wealth, but such a resource in a time that I think it's more important than ever to, as Rosita Perez used to say, one of our former speakers, don't sweat the small stuff. I remember that her husband said, Rosita, don't sweat the small stuff because it really doesn't matter. And it's your perspective. And if you're looking to change your attitude and how you perceive things, how do we get in touch with you?
So it's just Tim Gard, TimGard.com. And website, I mean, Facebook, Twitter, everything in there. If you even just Google Tim Gard, my name, I hopefully am the very first person that pops up there. I live in Portland, Oregon, travel all over the world. Love to be able to share more about this, about how they can use humor to connect with people, to increase sales, and how to let the stressors go so that they can be happier with what they do.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. I hope you'll join us again, because we can't get enough of Laughter Becomes You. Thank you very much for joining us, Tim Gard. I'm Terry Murphy for Realty Times, Women in Business, Women in Real Estate, in the Men's Room with Tim Gard.